Hello there. Welcome to another PayDay 2 video. Finally. This has been something I've been wanting to do for a while because I absolutely enjoy playing PayDay 2, but I'm finally happy to be back. Today we're going to be talking about a pack that has existed before from the first PayDay, that being PayDay the Heist, and has occurred back into PayDay 2, that being the Wolf Pack. The Wolfpack has been released on PayDay 2 on the February 11th, 2016, but those that had the Wolfpack from the first game did not have to pay any sort of additional cost to have it on the second game, but rather they would get it for free, which is a pretty good thing. But let's talk about the pack itself and see how it is exactly. Instead of pretending like the Legacy Edition doesn't exist, with the Infamous Collection being recently added to PayDay 2, if you don't know what the Infamous Collection is, it just practically contains every DLC in the game. So instead of pretending to be in a scenario where they don't exist, I'm just going to simply say if the pack itself is good and if it had any sort of positive or negative impact on the game itself. So without further ado, let's continue. The Wolfpack mainly contains two new heists, those being Undercover and Counterfeit Heist, and a secondary weapon, a new outfit, and 4 masks that can be unlocked via achievements. But first, let us simply begin with the Counterfeit Heist and see what it has to offer. The Counterfeit Heist first begins with us pretending to be pool repair maintenance crew, and a man by the name of Mitchell, who is a man that has been counterfeiting money for a very long time. Counterfeiting means that he's been printing money for a long time to be able to buy anything he wants, practically. He's pretending to be a rich boy, essentially. And Bane and the crew just wants to steal it and fucking print money for themselves. And so we decide to pretend to be a pool repair maintenance crew and go in. There are two ways that you can approach the heist, but before I can continue, you will begin to notice that there are a lot of crowbars laying around the map. These will be very useful later on because it's going to be helpful and important for the later time. And so there are two ways that you can approach Mitchell, either by going in straight in with your mask on, or be patient and approach him unmasked. So, if you approach him unmasked, he will acknowledge your presence and tell you to follow him. Once you start following him, you will begin to notice that the door that leads to the basement is very sealed off, hence the crowbar icon. And if you do decide to mask up first and then go in and enter the basement instantly, you're going to first have to find the crowbar laying around the map, which is very randomized because there are many locations that it can spawn in. On Wilson's side, or excuse me, Mitchell's side, the crowbar can spawn in his garage, the small little shed on the right side of the pool, or it can spawn inside the pool, or like on the outskirts of the pool, or it can spawn in the fence that he has been working on. Or it can spawn on Wilson's house, or like on the Wilson's side of the yard. It can either spawn in the shed in the far left of the map, like on the very edge, or it can spawn inside Wilson's garage. It can spawn in two areas, but you'll find them in either a table or on the ground mostly. Well, once you have a crowbar, you're gonna have to either pry it open and just go inside the basement. But firstly, let's talk about the stealthy part first. Once you let Mitchell let you inside the house by opening the door for you, you will begin seeing a security box on the wall that you have to hack it open. And so once you mask up and then you tie up Mitchell and leave him in a corner somewhere, who fucking knows where, you're gonna have to start hacking up the door. But the problem is you have to go to Wilson's house in order to open the basement because both Wilson's and Mitchell's house are linked together, so they both have to be hacked open in order to open the basement. And so you have to sort of stealthily sneak around. Of course, you could just like move the outskirts of the neighborhood to get inside, but the problem is there are like neighbors looking at the house investigating, because if you decide to roam around the neighborhood and you live like you're leaving the house, etc., the neighbors will see you and call the cops instantly. So you have to be very careful with your movement and where you're heading to. So you first, if you're in Mitchell's house still, go through the garage, and you see like a little pole on the right side of the garage, like outside. Don't go around it, but go through it, like inside of it, basically. Because if you go around it, the neighbors will somehow spot you. I don't know how it works, but don't question it. This is PayDay 2 we're talking about. And so once you're inside Wilson's house, you move over the bookcase, and then you start hacking. And then Bane will tell you that there will be a cop car coming to investigate the house because Mitchell's friends have noticed some suspicious activities from you. No shit. And so two cops will come in. One of the guards will just simply roam around the house, like on the outskirts of the house, and the other one will always enter Wilson's basement. And so you have to be very prepared and kill him silently, because if you shoot one bullet that is loud, everyone in the neighborhood will hear it. And they will call the cops. Or unless you break a window accidentally, and they'll still somehow fucking hear it. I don't know how. They must have like fucking elephant ears or some shit. They'll still somehow hear it if you break a window and still call the cops. So you have to be very stealthily about it. And so, once you've killed the first guard, if the second guard hasn't spotted you yet, don't kill him. Leave him be, because if you do decide to kill him, a second cop car will come in and investigate. So you leaving the second guard or the second police officer alone will delay the timer for the second cop arriving. Once you kill the first guard, you just simply hide his body and wait. And then you'll start hearing a telephone ringing. But where is the telephone? Because the game doesn't show you where it is. It's located in the kitchen, on the counter, to say at least. If you don't decide to answer it, then the second car that's supposed to come and investigate will come in instantly if you don't decide to answer it. But if you do decide to answer it, Bane will distract them and delay the timer it takes for the second group car to come around. Boy. And once you either answered it or ignored it, the basement opens up finally. And then you will notice a gate that will block in your way. And this is where the crowbar comes in handy, because you really need it to pry it open, unless you have a saw or a C4. But why would you bring those? But nonetheless, there are two main possible things that are going to happen once you're inside the basement. Either nothing will happen, or there will be C4 trapped placed in the basement. They somehow know you're coming, which is surprising, but whatever. And so, the amount of C4 that can spawn inside the basement depends on how many players there are in the lobby. If there's only you, and just AI essentially, there will be only 2 C4. But if there's 2 of you, there will be 3. If there's 3 of you, then there will be 4. If there's 4 of you, then there's going to be 5 of them. So it depends on like how many people are in your lobby. The AI bots, or like the AI teammates, they don't have any effect on this, so you don't have to worry about it. So, surprisingly enough, if you do decide to blow it up, no one's gonna fucking notice it. I don't know why this is a fucking thing, but for some reason, Mitchell and his friends just don't give a fuck that there's a big-ass hole in the pool, but hey, I'm not the one to question it. And so, if you do decide to defuse it in time, you'll be able to drill it open, because Bane has a plan. You just drill a tiny little hole on top of the safe, fill it up with water, and then blow it up just to apply pressure on the door, on the vault, and then it just fucking combusts into pieces, to say at least. But the good thing is, the drill doesn't jam on its own. It can only be jammed if a police or any sort of enemy comes in and disables it. So you don't have to worry about like constantly going back because the fucking drill jammed it every 10 seconds. So you don't have to worry about it. But then eventually, once the second cop comes in, or like the second group of police officers comes in, even if you do kill them both silently, the cops are going to declare them missing and start sending every fucking cop that are known to mankind. And so the heist begins. It's always loud, but you can sort of like be stealth it in a little way so if you don't want trouble instantly, like you just want a quick break, then you can sort of stealth this way through. But once you start drilling the top of the safe to create a hole, you're gonna have to find a hose that is located around the map. It can either spawn in Mitchell's small little shed on the right side, or it can spawn around this house, or it can spawn on Wilson's house, like somewhere around it. It's very different. And then you have to drag it down to the basement and leave it there. And so once you fuck, I'm struggling. Once you have placed it in, you just have to wait for the drill to finish, and then you have to wait for the drill to finish drilling a hole, place the water hose inside the safe, start filling it up with water, and then just wait. But another thing I should mention is that once you start filling up the safe with water, the cops will try to shut off the water source for the house. There are like 3 possible locations that it can spawn in. And so, I don't know the precise location of it because I'm always getting only one location for some fucking reason. But it can either spawn in Wilson's house, like in front of the house, in Mitchell's front house, or like in between, like on the main road, basically. And so you have to practically defend the valve until the safe is filled with water. And so once you've done that and the safe is filled up, you just simply go towards the safe and blow it up with C4, and you grab the money printer, and there's two choices you have. You can either print some money, or you can just get the fuck out instantly. But I would highly suggest getting the fuck out extremely quick, because if you do decide to print, well, get ready to have your fucking ass ripped. Because printing money in this fucking game is horrid. Because you're defending four things: the printer, two electricity boxes on the walls, and the generator that is located on the outskirts of the fucking map. But you might be thinking, well, it's free money, what's the problem? You're only getting $256,000 on the highest difficulty, which is fucking laughably terrible. But you need paper oil and ink in order to make the printing money. And then once you've done that, you have to wait for Bile to come in with a helicopter out in the fucking open to bring in a cage to drop the money. And then once you're done that, he's gonna get the fuck out, and you grab the printing plates and just get out. You escape it via the sewers, and then you just simply pry open the gate that's blocking you, and then you escape. The heist itself is pretty good and very solid, and it does have its few problems here and there, but overall the heist itself is pretty good. There's not a lot of issues about it, and it's just very simple and very nice. And that's pretty much it. There's not much else to say other than the fact that this heist is very good and very simple and very easy. Even on the highest difficulty, you can sort of play very safely by grabbing a sniper rifle and just chilling the staircases leading to the basement and just pop some heads. But that's it. Let's talk about the undercover heist, shall we? The undercover heist is another one that is very interesting and very fun and simple. There is a man by the name of Stir, or by everyone that calls him the Taxman, that contains a server that contains at least $20 million inside. And so he goes on a deal with some corrupt police officers, well, not corrupt, but more like undercover police officers that pretend to be gangsters. And so you and your crew are hiding inside a abandoned hotel, just so you can ambush them. Alex, who is controlling the crane, is going to yoink the limo because Bane suspects that there's going to be a sellout, or like an ambush to say at least. So there are two ways to like sort of approach this. You can either instantly start the heist by making a loud noise, or you just wait them out on the deal. Because if you do decide to shoot it out, another I forgot to mention is that the server is located in his trunk, in his car's trunk basically. And so if you do decide to shoot it instantly, the taxman won't grab the server inside the trunk, but rather just leave it there because he's fucking scared and a little bitch. But if you do decide to wait it out and like let them so-called transact the deal, he will grab the server and pretend to give it to them. But little does the taxman know that it's the actual cops like ambushing him. And so the server is going to be on him. And so once everything has gone to shit, Alex will go inside of a fucking crane and grab the car with a magnet, and will drag it all the way to the rooftop to where you are. It can either land on the rooftop, or it can land on the balcony. But if it does land on the rooftop, there are two possible things that can happen. It can either stay on the rooftop, or the rooftop breaks in and he fucking falls down. But pray to God that you don't get the rooftop part, because if the car stays on the rooftop, well, you're in for trouble because your ass is wide open, and there's going to be a lot of snipers aiming at your fucking head. And so you just have to pray to God that Alex drops the fucker early and leaves him on the balcony. And so it depends on like how you approach it. If you do decide to like start it instantly, the trunk you're gonna have to open is either by lockpicking it or finding a crowbar and pry it open quickly. But you still have to saw the roof of the car open, because that's where the taxman is hiding, because you need the code to have access to the server. And then once you saw the top part of the car open, you just have to simply escort him to the a computer that's like fucking modified in a way where you can like transact shit. I don't know how it fucking works. And so you have to just simply escort him to the computer, punch him in the fucking back of the head to tell him to sit down, you tie him up, and then you ask him to give him the codes. Now, you can keep asking him for, to give you the codes, but it's sort of like RNG dependent because it can either happen instantly or it's going to take like 2 minutes to get him to talk. You could hit him, but you're running a risk of like knocking him out. You can hit him a maximum of 2 times, but the 3rd time you hit him, you're gonna knock him out and thus delaying the time it takes for him to give you the codes. So they're like 3 parts essentially. It's just basically like waiting 3 minutes total of him, of like the hacking process. He gives you the code, you write the password, you wait for 1 minute, the code you're gonna need a new password, you ask him for that, and then he gives you, and then you repeat the process until 3 times. And then, while you're waiting, the cops can like cut off the power or like turn off the computer, and then you have to go back and turn it on, essentially. There are many ways that the electricity box can be located. It can be located on the 1st floor, all the way on the rooftop, or somewhere else. And another interesting part I can mention is that there are a lot of walls that can be blown up either by you or by the cops. If you have a grenade launcher, you can like blow up a certain wall to open up a new access way. And it's pretty interesting. It can either cuck you over or have a new way to traverse the map. It is very close range focused, so you don't have to really worry about being out in the open a lot. But the spawn rate of the police officers in this map is like increased, to say at least. And so, once you've got the hacking done, you just have to go back to the computer and begin the transaction process, and then you see the money transferring from Mr. Taxman's server to Bane's account, and you just simply have to go up the rooftop and then escape. It's very simple, but it can take a while to like get used to it because of its high police spawn rate, and the fact that you have to escort Taxman, and he gets stopped by so fucking often, because if there's a cop literally right next to him, even if it's one cop, Taxman is literally going to stop and just not move until that fucker is dead. And so you have to clear out the path in order to have him move. And that's pretty much it. The heist is very simple and very short, but that's what I like about the heist itself. It is very short and very simple, but the $20 million it doesn't even fucking give it to you. Which is the very depressing part. You just get like, what, 5 mil or total from it, but hey, whatever. But nonetheless, the heist itself is pretty good. Although the only complaints I have is like there's a lot of fucking snipers all around the map. Like, if you even show your head for 1 second, there's already like 4 lasers pointing at your fucking skull, and you're gonna get your ass knocked. And another thing I should mention is that there's also like planks you can find laying around the map. You can grab those to like barricade either doorways or the vents. The vents are just essentially little traps, basically. Well, they're not traps, but like the cops will deploy a gas grenade or like pour some gas over it. So if you walk through it, you'll just take some small amount of damage. You can block this by just placing some planks, or you can put the planks on windows to stop the snipers from hitting you or the cops jumping through the window. And that's pretty much it. The heist itself is pretty good and very simple, and the XP that it provides is also incredibly well. The same thing can be said about the counterfeit, because it gives you a lot of XP, but don't even think about printing money there. But how much XP can you get from both of these heists? On counterfeit you can get a maximum total of 1.2 mil. Meanwhile, on Undercover, I could be mistaken, is at least like 1.5 mil, or less. So they pay off pretty well, and both of them are pretty good and fun. So yeah, that's about them. Let's talk about the other thing that the heist contains. And another thing that this heist contains is the secondary weapon that I mainly mentioned. The secondary weapon is a grenade launcher. The China Puff, or the China Lake as the real name suggested. I'm going to have my friend Caleb, a man from Wisconsin, that has a better gun knowledge than me. So I'm going to let him explain it briefly to you.
The China Lake was designed in 1967 by Alfred Kermode as a pump-action 40mm with a 3-round tube. It was primarily made as an alternative to the semi-automatic T-148E1, which proved unreliable. The China Lake was put into service with Navy SEAL teams which hailed it as an effective grenade launcher when it was field-tested in the Vietnam War. Think of a comically oversized shotgun that can support high explosive munitions. As for Payday 2, you can unlock the China Puff at level 39 for 196,000 with a fire rate of 50, 960 damage, 96 stability, 96 accuracy with a concealment of 18. You can use incendiary rounds, tactical zapper rounds, viper gas rounds, and sting armor piercing rounds, all for 9 grand each. You can also saw off the stock for 9k with -4 stability and +4 concealment, while also still having the normal boosts available for purchase.
Thank you, Mr. Kelpman. Anyway, the China Puff grenade launcher is mainly used to get rid of large hordes of enemies. No shit, it's a grenade launcher, but because of its lower damage, it sort of struggles to kill heavy units because it doesn't one-shot them. It just leaves them at like, what, 20 health. And so, it is mainly used with other grenade rounds that you have. This grenade is best to use with the Z1 tactical zapper grenade, or like the electricity grenade, so you can zap out large hordes of enemies and still move around. But you can also use like incendiary rounds on this, or you can use the Viper grenade on it, but it doesn't matter. This grenade is mainly used to like get rid of shields instantly, and is also able to get rid of the dozer's faceplate if you don't have an angle for it. And because it has the 3 rounds in the tube, you're sort of able to kill a lot of enemies in a short duration. Even if it doesn't kill the enemies, it will just knock them on the ground, which gives you enough time to run away, or buy you some time to hide behind cover. Grenade launcher is very good, don't get me wrong, but it can also be used in a concealable way because of its high concealment with the sawed-off stock. And that's pretty much it about the weapon. The new outfit you get is like a pool maintenance kit from a counterfeit heist. In order to unlock this, you just have to complete the counterfeit heist on overkill difficulty or above. And there's like 4 masks each, and they're all pretty fucking boring. They're just very simplistic. You get Hans, the Dragon Head, the Viking, and the Trickster Demon. They're all very boring, like they're not surprising to say at least. And that's pretty much it. There's not much else to really talk about this heist, other than the fact that it's very simple and very good. The grenade launcher itself is fucking amazing. And oh yeah, and I forgot that there's also a melee weapon, but we're not going to talk about it because 90% of the melee weapons in this game are fucking boring, but hey, whatever. But that's pretty much it about the DLC itself. Is it good in any way? It's absolutely amazing. The heists itself are very fun in their own ways, and the grenade launcher is pretty good. The melee weapon and the mask are pretty forgettable, so let's just forget about it. But the pack itself is absolutely incredible. I would say it had a really good positive effect on the game itself because it brought in 2 great heists and a new weapon that is very fun and effective to use. And yeah, that's pretty much it. If I had to give a rating to this heist, it would be a 9 out of 10. And that's pretty much it. Hope you enjoyed. Until then, I'll see you next time. Bye bye.